You know, those of you I'm those of you following politics have probably noticed that it seems like it's almost a waste of time to even go vote. It's like your vote doesn't count. A lot of Democrats. I'm actually registered Democrat right now, but I'm actually more of a libertarian in the way that I think. Have noticed that Michael Bloomberg, they're kind of disgusted. The progressives in the Democratic Party are kind of disgusted because Michael Bloomberg is making a sudden rise. I mean, he's like 6 or 7%, and Lori McBride. I call them Lori McBride's polls. You know, people don't. Some people don't realize that Lori McBride is controlling the entire narrative. I've already made a video about the Matrix and how she's like the Matrix. And her biggest weapon, she's got. It appears that she has control of the nation of Israel and a lot of institutions that are primarily run by Jews. Now, I'm Jewish myself. Now, I don't know if the Jews would consider me a Jew, but then I'm literally half King David, so that's Jewish. And the real Brent Spiner is Jewish, but he has a clone who's taken over his Twitter. But the thing is, you know, Michael Bloomberg is a horrible politician. He's basically destroyed New York, and the only reason he's rising so fast up to the top is because it appears he's got Lori McBride's money and backing behind him. Lori McBride owns the Democratic Party, and I'm probably going to be voting for Tulsi Gabbard. Um, I look at it this way. I see Tulsi is number one, Donald Trump is number two. The problem I have with Trump is he's not really running the country. His wife, Melania, is. So that's the problem I have with Trump. But I just wanted to comment. Tulsi said she won't be in the debates. I don't blame her. It's a waste of time. You know, I'm the Empress, and my conspiracy law, if it was enforced, we would have fair politics. I'm the Empress. If my conspiracy law was enforced, the news would be reporting on the existence of clones, because that is a super duper big problem. And Lori's using the clones to um, basically take over everything. Like she's got control of big tech, and she's got control of all of the internet and mainstream news. And the way it works is like this. If the people, let's say like at Fox, do not report the news the way Lori McBride wants the news to be reported, she just tells them, okay, I'm going to kill you and replace you with your clone if you don't do what I say. You are to report the news as I say. And well, you might say, well, why aren't they reporting on the existence of clones? It's obvious. Do you think the criminals want to be exposed? They're able to commit perfect identity theft and impersonation because nobody knows about them. So, yeah, Brent Spiner's clone has basically taken over Brent Spiner's Twitter and his online presence and his bank accounts. And I can tell you the real Brent is not too happy about this. So you might say, well, what do we do? Are we totally at the mercy of the system? It's well, she's meeting with Satan. Lori McBride, yes. See, Zach Knight used to be the Antichrist, and he defected to my side when he realized that the friends you make from being evil aren't worth it. So he came to my side. And Satan is now meeting with Lori McBride as his new leader. Satan is actually the head of the Jesuit order of the Roman Catholic Church. And I think he actually created the Jesuit order is basically an occult, it's a satanic organization. And Satan he wants to rule the world and the universe. So therefore, the Jesuits' aim is world domination. And he's working with Lori McBride to eliminate the obstacles to that, which are basically me and my men and anybody who supports me, like Donald Trump and Tulsi Gabbard, I believe, supports me. So just pray, and go to my website and follow me because I am reporting the real news. Michael Bloomberg and some other people that should be nobodies are becoming somebodies simply because Lori McBride is controlling the narrative. That's all there is to it. She's controlling the narrative. She's deciding who becomes famous and who becomes a nobody. And Lori, and she's dropping bombs over us, to make us sick. Using putting yeast and chemicals in them. And she's doing this because this yeast gives her the ability to exert more brain control over the population. She's a liar. She's evil. The thing is, though, she has to control the narrative because she's addicted to her sins. It's an addiction. She actually lies to herself and tells herself that she's I think she honestly believes that she's a good person. Even though she's murdering people that don't agree with her, even though she's lying and stating that she and Brent Spiner have had a relationship, a loving, healthy relationship, and that I'm the crazy lady, she's got to lie because I'm going to see if I can fix this. She has to lie because she's evil. And if people knew the truth about her, they wouldn't follow her, nor any of her cucks. Basically, Nancy Pelosi, the entire Democratic establishment are Lori McBride cucks, and the mainstream deep state Republicans are her cucks. So she's addicted to sin. It's like an opiate addiction. You know, people addicted to their sins, they think they're unhappy because of everything around them. Maybe it's Trump's fault. And it's so funny. I mean, because she's so evil, she knows she's evil. And I think she projects herself onto everybody around her, and she thinks they're just like her. And it's so funny because she goes around calling me crazy. She's the one who's crazy. You would think after 30 years, she'd realize she's not going to win the real Brent Spiner's heart when she's such an ugly person on the inside. She's not a beautiful woman. A truly beautiful woman has inner beauty. She has none. But yet, for 30 years, she's lived with this delusion that if she can somehow get me out of the picture, that she's going to be able to win the real Brent Spiner over to her side. She apparently thinks if she gives him enough rape, or if she can rape him enough, and this works with some people. Some people, see, the problem with Lori McBride and her followers is they're addicted to sin. It's like a drug with them. It's sin is like an addiction. And I define sin as anything that violates true love. And so you got to be careful when you use that word, because it's being abused by a lot of preachers who make it appear like you're sinning if you don't live the puritanical lifestyle. And they're doing Jesus a big disfavor, because sin is a violation of true love. That's what it is. And anybody who's addicted to sin in their life, which I say is anything that violates true love, they usually are not trying to overcome sin in their own life. Instead, they're obsessed with finding the sins in others. That's how you can tell who's addicted to sin. And this is true of even preachers who might be off balance. They forget that when it comes to sin, the first person who sins you should be concerned about is yourself. And then after you've cleared the decks with yourself and you're striving to honor Jesus, the lighting during the daytime is really bad here, then you want to next, and you might say, what should your attitude be towards the sinners around you? Your attitude should be to expose them if they're hurting true love. That's what I'm doing with this video. Expose them as sinners who are addicted to sin. You see, sin is like an opiate, like a heroin addiction. You delude yourself into thinking that if you get that thing you want, and usually with a sinner, it's sex, money, or worldly fame or prestige. That's what they think they want. And that's what Lori thinks she wants. She thinks she'll be happy if she can kill me and get Lori, get Brent Spiner to treat her as his legit husband, as her legit husband. And the thing is, that won't make her happy, because what's going to happen is it's never enough. It's like an addiction. She thinks she'll be happy with it. She won't be. Because God has designed us that when we sin, we're miserable. She will only find happiness when she starts honoring true love in her life. In other words, when she stops sinning. She's not honoring true love because that's what Brent and I have together. And she's trying to violate that. She's trying to force her facade onto the world. And if you won't buy into her facade, she'll try to eliminate you, kill you, discredit you, call you crazy, call you wicked. She's using those labels on Trump. And I'm not saying Trump is perfect, because he's basically ruled by an evil wife, Melania. But the problem is sin. It's an addiction. And until you deal with the sin in your life, until you admit that you're a sinner, that Jesus died and paid for your sins, and that only through the power of Christ can you overcome sin in your life, you're never going to be happy. You might say, well, I see happy people who are Buddhists or New Agers. This is kind of a complicated subject. Jesus can reach people in other movements that aren't Christianity if they tune into his spirit. And I think Tulsi Gabbard may have found Jesus in her own way as a Hindu. But anytime you get away from honoring true love in your life, you're becoming a Satan follower, regardless of what label or what organization or what ideology you belong to. And Lori McBride is filled with hatred and jealousy, and she's working with Satan to undermine true love. You might say, why would she do that? Satan has convinced her that sin does not exist, that it's a lie that Jesus made up to punish people like her unfairly, and that the whole world exists to accommodate her and her sins. Though she doesn't call them sins. She calls them her rightful lifestyle. She feels that she has the right to have a celebrity income and lifestyle, and that she is right to destroy the true love between me and Brent Spiner in order to accomplish that. And she's addicted to that. But she doesn't understand that you can never be a happy person when your life is devoted to destroying true love. So let's say she succeeds in getting the real Brent Spiner on her side. You think that's going to make her happy? Well, first of all, it's never going to happen. But the reason it won't make her happy is because there'll always be something else she wants. Sin, it's like an addiction. It's like an alcohol addiction or a drug addiction. You just got to get more and more. And you think if you get more of what you think you want, that it'll make you happy. But because you're addicted, it doesn't work. You say, so what's the answer? You need to be a humble person. You need to admit that you're a sinner. And you need to analyze those areas in your life where you're violating true love and ask Jesus to help you to stop doing that. The first step is say, Lord, I'm a sinner. I know I've sinned and you died on the cross for my sins. And I accept that. Thank you for that. And I want to go to heaven when I die. And I want you to help me to honor true love in my life. And that will be the solution to the problems we have in our country. So pray for our country. Pray for our politicians. I'm actually the leader of the country. But Lori's blocking my laws from being enforced. I think if all of you would accept Jesus and start honoring love, then we can win. And I have a link underneath this video. I actually wrote a piece about Lori and what's driving this woman.